I forgot to record the intro, nevertheless I'm doing this here. We have the battle between the Xiaomi 15 Ultra against the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. So let's get started. It's a sunny day here in Wesel, Germany, and we start off with the camera specs of the Xiaomi 15 Ultra and the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Both feature quadruple lens setup. The Oppo with a 2x periscopes and one large periscope on the Xiaomi. 1-inch type sensors on both, the same 1-inch type sensor, pretty large periscopes, but yeah, the Leica powered Xiaomi is definitely larger than the Hasselblad powered Oppo here. So which one will be the winner? And also we have some front-facing cameras as well, and we start off with the front-facing videos. Front-facing video, Xiaomi 15 Ultra. This is the internal mic. So what do you think about this one here? The sun is setting, so it is like still bright daylight, but in a few minutes probably will get dark. So what do you think about this one here? The Oppo Find X7 Ultra's front-facing camera here has autofocus, so it can focus nicely on the Leica-powered camera system of the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. And we have zoom levels like 2x and 1x and 2x, sorry, and 0.8x, which is quite wide. Dynamic range looks fine as well. So what do you think about this one here? Stabilization, colors, internal mics. 4K 30 frames per second on the main camera of the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. We can go to ultra wide angle at 4K 30, 4K 60, 4K 120 frames, and I think 8K 30 frames per second. We can only use the main and the periscope zoom. Let's go to the ultra wide angle here. This is the ultra wide angle. It's not as ultra wide as it was on the predecessor, the 14 Ultra, with 12 millimeters. Here we have, I think, 14 millimeters, but still pretty good. Even in this like sunset scenario, it should still perform fine. Let's perform a little zoom test there on the sign that you probably don't see. Let's go to 3x directly, 4.3x, and let's zoom in up to 10x. Can we read the sign? Let's go 15x. Can we read it now? And 30x here. This is now getting a little bit noisy there, I think. But we can definitely read it here on screen. And let's go back to 1x. Very smooth, very nice on the 15 Ultra. Another 1-inch type sensor, the same kind of 1-inch type sensor as on the 15 Ultra. Now on the Find X7 Ultra, and this one here can do 4K 30 and 4K 60 frames per second. No 8K, no 120 frames per second, slow-mo kind of thing. So yeah, let's go to the ultra wide angle as well here. So this is the ultra wide angle. We have nice zoom, we have nice colors on the Find X7 Ultra. We know this already, and now we want to perform a little zoom test as well on the same sign to see how well it is doing this. But I have to go to the same spot roughly. That was, I think, here. Yes, there we have it. Let's go directly to 3x. Let's go 6x. It should have switched lenses. And then I can go 10x. How well does it compete with the 15 Ultra? And I can go up to 15x that we reached now. And the maximum zoom here is 18x, so a bit less than the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. So what do you think about this one here? And let's go back to 1x. Also pretty smooth. What do you think? Which one has the better colors? When we compare the front-facing video, we can see a little bit of a mushy kind of looking Xiaomi 15 Ultra. HDR is okay, contrast level is a bit higher than on the Find X7 Ultra. The Find X7 Ultra is a slightly bit wider there, has more flexibility with the zoom in concept. Let's take a look at the detail levels. This is Xiaomi 15 Ultra. And this is the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Yes, the front-facing camera in terms of video is doing a better job on the Find X7 Ultra with a lot better options like the flexibility to be able to zoom in and out. Let's mute it and let's play it back. The only thing that I noticed is that I think it's a bit more shaky on the Find X7 Ultra in terms of stabilization level, but the autofocus is very cool. The zoom in options there are pretty cool, and this is something where Xiaomi cannot compete. Main camera footage, what you will see here is a bit more high contrast on the 15 Ultra. The Find X7 Ultra has the more pleasant color, especially on my face, where here it's a bit too yellowish, the face there. When it comes to like detail levels, let's take a look at the 15. Very nice detail. I think it's a slightly bit sharpening up the face for sure, but it's not over sharpened too much. It's just the colors. Look at this contrast level and this yellowish kind of face color, just ugly. And here the Find X7 Ultra doing a much better job there. It's a bit soft, maybe there we have a little bit of a sharper shot there. It's not as sharp as the 15 Ultra. I think the 15 Ultra is like either sharpening things up a bit or has a little bit of a sharper lens there. Bokeh level is pretty nice there as well. It's just the colors look much more pleasant on the Find X7 Ultra. The video is a lot more pleasant looking with this not so much contrast for sure. When we go to the ultra wide angle, both struggle a little bit with these dimlit situations. Ultra wide angle, you can see it here on this side and there on this side. When I play it back, maybe you don't see it so much. Let's go to full screen. You can see it's dancing a little bit around here, and here especially as well, dancing a little bit around here. There you can see it with the footsteps. So they have both this issue there. When it comes to the differences here, again, a bit warmer exposure in general on the 15 Ultra, a lot cooler on the Find X7 Ultra. In terms of detail levels and sharpness, you can see, let's go a frame further, it is a little bit less sharp. It is like sometimes focusing on the background there, not focusing on the foreground actually, which is me. And on the Find X7 Ultra, same issue basically. It's not always focusing on me there. I think it has now my focus there. It's also a bit mushy and a little bit pale looking there. So it's also not the best there for sure with the ultra wide angle. But I think they're doing a great job so far. Here again, a bit more darker colors, a bit more contrasty look on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, and the Find X7 Ultra a bit more palish looking. When we take a look at the zoom switching, let me mute this. This is like the 3x zoom switch, and now on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, much nicer on the Find X7 Ultra. It doesn't have like this blurry moment for a second. And yeah, the more you zoom in, the more it becomes evident. Now this 4.3 times zoom, and we compare the 4.3 times zoom, which I don't see much noise there, against the 3x zoom here, which maybe I don't see much noise there either. But the more you zoom in, the more it becomes evident that, I can go to 6x here as well. First of all, it gets brighter on the Xiaomi, but the more it becomes evident that this is much better readable on the Xiaomi than on the, let's go to 10x as well. There we go. 10x as well, you can see it's blurrier here on the Oppo. So the Xiaomi is winning in terms of zoom range, zooms and lens switching. I think it's the Oppo Find X7 Ultra's win here. And at the end we can also see the maximum zoom levels here. Very grainy and noisy, but on both very grainy and noisy. And this is like even more exaggerated here with the grain, but it's much more readable there than here for sure. And the zoom in, zoom out animation are very nice on both, but I think the zoom out animation is a bit better on the Find X7 Ultra. And in general, the Find X7 Ultra has a slight edge there for me, especially with the colors of the main camera sensor here, where it's winning in terms of video. What do you think? Let's check out the photos. On the left always the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, on the right the Find X7 Ultra. I tried macro shots first, both with 3x, though I think the Oppo Find X7 Ultra most of the time is jumping to its main camera sensor or even the ultra wide angle and crops in then for the shot. Here the Xiaomi for some reason failed to focus. I cannot see, probably it focused here somewhere. And yeah, it's not so sharp and visible on the Oppo as well, but the Oppo is doing a slightly better job there. But definitely the Xiaomi is better. You can see it here. This is like with the automatic mode, so we don't go into macro mode, we just go close and try to get as close as possible. With the Xiaomi 15 Ultra's main camera sensor, it is like switching to the ultra wide angle, I think, and then you can get this kind of shot. And yeah, it's a bit blurry. This is like what we had like 5 years ago. And the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, you cannot get so close. And then I had to use 2x zoom. And then I think it jumped to macro mode and it's cropping in from the ultra wide angle. This is why you get like this very pixelated kind of shot. You can try to use the 3x sensors on both, or the dedicated macro mode on the Xiaomi, and there's no dedicated macro mode on the Find X7 Ultra. And you can see that the Find X7 Ultra is losing against the Xiaomi completely, because I think it's just falling back now to the main camera sensor and cropping in a little bit. This is like almost like 6 times now. And with the Find X7 Ultra, Find X7 Ultra, you don't have also this nice bokeh, and it's just not utilizing one of the tele lenses. On the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, I can even crop in a little bit more, 140 times there, and it's nice and sharp. So macro mode is definitely the Xiaomi 15 Ultra's strength. Let's go check out the main camera sensors. One interesting part is here we can see more contrast first on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, a little bit flatter look on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. It's a bit more realistic looking actually on the Find X7 Ultra, where we have a bit of a moody look with Leica Authentic on the Xiaomi 15. But what we also have is like 30 megapixels high-res mode on the Oppo. Is it giving us really more details? Actually, I don't know. It looks to me like a little bit like if I crop in here another time, you can see, maybe even another time, you can see, yes, it is giving us a bit more details. Let's go a bit out though, like this. It is giving us a bit more details here than if I crop in with the Xiaomi. But when I do the opposite, so let's do one crop down and here, and then compare them with each other, then I don't see much of a difference. I don't see the higher resolution. But yeah, in certain situations, this higher resolution can definitely help. But most of the time you get shots that look pretty fantastic on both and very, very indistinguishable from each other. Very, yeah, Leica-like on the Xiaomi, and very, yeah, accurate colors, realistic Hasselblad colors on the Oppo. And you can see it with all the other shots, slightly underexposed sometimes on the 15 Ultra. I think maybe I switched here to -0 EV. I have to check, is it somewhere written? I don't know. So the darker the exposure here, but the detail level, now without the high-res mode, you can see it's identical. It's like a little bit maybe here the sharpness a bit higher, because we are using Leica Authentic, where the sharpening on the Xiaomi is a little bit turned down, and the Oppo is using by default a little bit higher sharpening. You can see also here with the trees a little bit there. So it is basically identical. Main camera sensor, I don't see much of a difference. And the same I can say also for the selfie cam, which is quite a surprise, because I thought, yeah, Xiaomi would lose, but no. They have very nice details, sharpness, almost no difference between each other there in terms of colors, and in terms of bokeh with the portrait mode. Very, very cool. It's just like the color here. You can see it's a bit more punchy of the green there in the background, where it's more realistic on the Find X7 Ultra. The face a bit more warmed up there, where it's a bit colder here on the Oppo. And 3x comparison here. For some reason this is a bit white. This has something to do, I switched to the Leica Vivid just for a second to show you how this will look like. You can see that the big difference is trying to flatten everything up here. This is why it's a little bit brighter here, but also the other shot here now, again here with the 4.3x, you can see there is a color difference there, color shift as well. And yeah, let's compare it, 3x shot versus 3x shot. It's faster. It's faster. It's a bigger lens on the a bigger sensor actually on the Find X7 Ultra. And this is what you can show there. A bit more details, a bit more sharpness. So what the Xiaomi is losing is a little bit of sharpness, and one could say like here the Find X7 Ultra is winning at 3x for sure. But as soon as you zoom in, like this is 135, which is 6x now, versus the 4.3 times zoom, you can see then it becomes, first of all, indistinguishable in terms of like details. Let's go a little bit out there here to have like a bit more comparison there. It's a bit of processing issue on the Xiaomi, I would say. It's a bit of blooming there. Still, the lens has some issues there. It's a bit less sharp. It's a bit more sharpened up eventually on the Oppo. And when we go like even further, let's go to something like 200 versus 225 millimeter. It is very, very close. Here you can see it's a slight overexposure there still going on. It's a little blurry on the Xiaomi in this situation, where the Oppo might have a little bit of an edge there. But it's interesting, because let's check out another zoom here, because this is 10 times versus 10 times. And yes, it is 10 times on the Find X7 Ultra. The 10 times is 225 here apparently. And this is what the Oppo is doing at this, yeah, sunshine is gone moment, so just sun was setting there, and this is what the Xiaomi is doing. This is like beating the Oppo left and right here. The detail levels on the car, look at the tire, look at it, it's like way better on the Xiaomi than on the Oppo, which is quite interesting. It could be like it is definitely the larger sensor here. The more I zoom in, the more it becomes evident. Look at the tires here. There's a little bit of profile still visible, but here it's also AI kicking in on both. This is not really realistic. This is flattening, especially on the last tire here, on the rear tire. It's flattening, and here you can see a little bit of the profile. But in general, yes, the Xiaomi is doing a better job. And here it becomes very interesting because it's a bit more daylight, a bit more brighter kind of shot, and 10 times versus 10 times. When you zoom in here, 100%, you can see that the Xiaomi is doing already its thing with sharpening things up. QR code reading easier probably on the Xiaomi. It's also possible on the Oppo, but it's a bit harder because it's a bit blurrier there. The detail levels here, you can see it's a bit blurry, it's a bit artificial, where here it looks like a optical zoom almost. And next one is 20 times, and here it becomes interesting because here I think the Oppo's AI is kicking in. The QR code is much easier readable on the Oppo, harder here. The text much more easier readable on the Oppo, even though like it has like some issues there with some weird text there. And here as well, you can see that this is much easier readable there. And here the little text there, you can read the for sale eventually. We can see the Google logo. This QR code is unreadable on both. And you can see, interestingly enough, the AI on the Oppo is removing this window that is here. I hope you can see it. I can zoom in a little bit more. There's a window there that the Xiaomi keeps in, as you can see. So there's a little dark spot there. It's like interesting. 30 times zoom here. We have also, like you can see, this is brightened up by the Oppo. It's like clearly AI there. The AI is still working here, but here, yeah, the Xiaomi is losing at 30 times, which is quite interesting. The AI is still not kicking in on the Xiaomi. It's a bit of a weird kind of thing. It's still doing this thing here with the window removed. And maybe some other details there. And your faces here at 30 times, yeah, forget about it. And then the more you zoom in, this is 60 times now. At 60 times, Xiaomi is striking back, and I'm surprised how good it's striking back. The QR code is readable. The text is nicely readable. It's better than the Oppo even. QR code unreadable. Even here behind, you can almost make out what's written there. It's interesting that the Xiaomi is like kicking back so much here with its AI. And yeah, then 120 times, the Xiaomi is clearly winning here. So in this, the more you zoom in, the better the Xiaomi gets there. But yeah, 10 times is a win for Xiaomi. In between, like the 20 and 30 times is a win for Oppo, I would say. And from 60 times onwards, Xiaomi is kicking Oppo's ass there, for sure. Ultra wide angle, let's compare them. It's a clear win for the Xiaomi. I can tell you already, not because it's brighter picture, it's a little bit too much contrast, and I think the greens here look a bit artificial. This is much realistic, more realistic in terms of colors, what the Oppo is doing here. But the sharpness level, look at the detail level and the sharpness, it is just soft and blurry, and the Xiaomi is much better there. And also in this shot here, yes, better HDR on Oppo. You have more realistic kind of look that I like actually personally, and it's not too much overblown there. And in terms of detail levels and sharpness, again, the Oppo is losing against the Xiaomi for sure. And that's it. So main camera sensor the same, macro is a win for Xiaomi, ultra wide angle is a win for Xiaomi, and I think the telezoom I would give a win for Xiaomi as well. But let's check out the portraits. Let's check out the portraits of the Xiaomi 15 Ultra and the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. What we can see here is we have an overexposure on the 15 Ultra. I was using the master portrait most because last time I compared the 15 Ultra against the Vivo, someone was like saying, yeah, you used Leica, but the master mode is much better in terms of sharpness and detail level. And yeah, I tested it in, what was it, 14 or something like this, and it wasn't really the case, but here it is the case. Yes, you are right. But we have this overexposure on the 15 Ultra that you can clearly see here that the Oppo doesn't have. In terms of sharpness and detail level, however, both are very comparable, but yeah, because the colors are a little bit too bright here on the Xiaomi, I would prefer the Oppo in this case. but you can, with the help of an assistant, tap to focus on the face, and then the exposure is set to the face, and then it's much better, much more comparable also to the Oppo. It's a bit darker, a bit more contrasty still, but the sharpness and detail level, I would say, is on another level, and slightly better even with all the skin colors and everything there than on the Oppo maybe. It's a 2x zoom, there's not much of a difference. Like I said, with normal photos, there's not much of a difference between those two in terms of sensor. They're using the same sensor, so we get basically the same. Also in terms of bokeh there, both are set now. Yeah, made sure, extra sure that they're using not only the default settings, but the same kind of bokeh. But yeah, gladly both have f4.5 as default bokeh. And even though it is not written into the 15 Ultra, the Oppo is writing this fake bokeh in there. We still have a little bit of slightly overexposure there in the background. You can see a general issue on the 15 Ultra. Let's go and check out the 3x zoom on both. Keep in mind that 3x on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is 65 millimeters, and on the Xiaomi it's 70 millimeters, so it's like a little bit of a difference there. Again, we have this overexposure. I set the metering to face, not to average scene, but face, so it should meter on my face without the tap to focus. But this is the result there. I didn't use tap to focus anymore because yeah, my assistant didn't have time. My wife. Anyway, again, a bit brighter, kind of more yellowish kind of picture or face on the Xiaomi, with a bit more warmish orangey on the Oppo. It's a matter of taste, I would say, there, because it's not too overblown, the face there, where I would say it is looking bad. But if you look at the detail levels, it's a bit fake there. It's a bit grainy already on the Xiaomi, and I think the Oppo has overall the smoother picture. When it comes to the hair strains and so on, you can see also, yes, it has all the hair strains in there, but you can see also the contrast here. It's a bit of gray almost, the hair, where it's here a bit of orangey looking on the Oppo, but I still would prefer the Oppo with a slight like bit of getting out of focus areas here with the hair strains towards the sides, where here it is like kept in for some reason. And also, yeah, some of the bokeh things look a bit fake on both there. They don't have like the best there, but doing in general a good job. We have this slightly overexposure again in the background, where the Oppo is simply doing a better job. Here you can see the couch is still in focus, where here it is not in focus, or something like this, that you can see there. So I'm leaning towards the Oppo a bit in terms of this portrait shot here, and another portrait shot at 6x on the Oppo. It's using, I think, hopefully the 6x lens. It doesn't look like with f2.8, but I'm not so sure, yeah, if it's really using it. On the 15 Ultra, it switched to the 4.3x zoom lens for sure, and this is what you can get there. It's pretty mushy, I have to say. It's like the ISO is only 500, and here the Oppo still seems to do a better job. I'm not sure if it's either using this, even though f2.6 would be an indicator that it's using the 4.3x. It's looking pretty mushy, I have to say. Not very detailed there, where the Oppo is like simply beating it there in terms of detail levels. So my guess it's like a crop of the 70mm, which would be a bad thing, I think. Let's go, and there you can see also the difference. Like this here looks a bit more natural, also a little bit more like this here in terms of face color, where here it's brightening things up, and here it is brightening things even more. 135mm is also something that you can do with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, and here it gets way better. So here I think it is using the 4.3x zoom, and if you compare it now, yes, the face color is much better on the Oppo, much nicer. Here's just way too yellow, the face. And sharpness, yes, it is sharpening things up a little bit more, but it's also like a bit grainy already on the Xiaomi. So here I would still prefer, in terms of Oppo, yeah, I know it's fake eye there, this is a bit more realistic. And yeah, the high contrast there that you have, which is like a little bit better there on the Oppo. I, in general, would say I still prefer the Oppo for portraits. It's just looking a bit nicer, and the Xiaomi, even with the master mode, yes, it's way sharper with the master mode for sure. but the colors are way off in my opinion, and it's like hit or miss. You have to tap to focus on the face to get the right exposure most of the time of the face, way better exposure on the face, or in general lower the EV, but they removed the EV button, so you cannot do it for the portrait in general. You have to like tap to focus, and if you tap on the face, most of the time you get the right exposure on the face already. You don't have to go a little bit lower, but the higher contrast, everything added up together, I think the Xiaomi 15 Ultra's master mode is also not kicking it, and the Oppo is still king in terms of portrait. But what is your opinion? Write it down in the comments section. Night video mode now on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. This is a 4K 24 frames per second that you have in night video mode. I'm standing now under the light here. What do you think about it? And now the light's behind me. So how well is it stabilizing? How well is my exposure here? And now turning away, light there now in the foreground. So what do you think about this one here? And using the internal mics, what do you think about this one? Oppo Find X7 Ultra, this is 4K 30 frames per second. It doesn't have a video night mode here. Walking towards the light, how well is it stabilizing? How well does it look like? How well does it handle noise? Now standing under the light, how well is the exposure here? And I'm walking away from the light with the light in the background. How well is the exposure now? How good is stabilization? And how well does it handle the change of light here? Now with a little bit darker and facing the light here. And what do you think about the internal mics? Which one is performing better here? And yeah, what do you think? Night time, and here we have a little bit of more vibrant colors on the 15 Ultra. I think I switched to Leica Vibrant in this case, so this explains it. Otherwise, yeah, we have a little bit more reddish kind of color. It's always hard to photograph this, but Oppo is doing a much better job there with the colors, and both basically the same. Even though we have a different kind of aperture, you can see a little bit more the wider opening on the Xiaomi there with the bokeh, but this is like a very, very slight, subtle thing only. Main camera sensor is almost the same, but when the night mode kicks in, like here for example, it was kicking in because the shutter speed was quite low, then you will see that the Xiaomi in this case had some issues. I don't know why, but it was a little bit blurry there. And the rest is like pretty much the same there. Not much of a difference between those two there. In terms of colors and detail levels, we have a bit more contrasty look, a bit more punchy colors on the Xiaomi. But here as well, you can see that the Xiaomi, when the night mode kicks in, it's a bit soft. It's a bit softer than, it's not dramatically soft or so, but you can see that it's a bit wishy-washy soft. This is something that we don't have so much on the Oppo. We have the nicer kind of burst or light burst there, or whatever you would call it. Like it's a bit softer here. It's like also a matter of taste, I think. And towards the side, yeah, both doing equally good job. It's almost like in daylight, more contrasty look on the 15 Ultra, a bit more overexposed on the 15 Ultra. The sky is nice, I think. Both were able to capture stuff there, like a star, although it's like a little, the stars are visible, but you can see here is a star visible, there's a star visible. It's a bit hard. Both the noise reductions probably deleting some stars, but basically they're doing the same. And also like 2x zoom just to see like the bokeh. It's a bit creamier on the Xiaomi than on the Oppo, but main camera sensor is the same. Selfie is quite interesting because here both illuminate the face, and I think the Oppo is doing a bit of a better job because we have a bit of the hazy look here on the Xiaomi, at least if I don't zoom in. It's a bit more contrasty, interestingly enough, on the Find X7 Ultra. When I go in here, what we can see here, is it really doing a better job, the Oppo? It's doing a bit more editing, recreating my eyes, recreating my eyebrows there, where the Xiaomi keeps it a little bit more real, and you have a little bit more detail here, like the little hairs there. So yeah, it's like pretty much on par, I would say. Still like in daylight, but you see the difference in terms of processing. It's a bit more processed looking on the Oppo, a bit more sharpened up as well. When we go in total darkness, we have this kind of shot, and both I really don't like. First of all, I look pale like crazy on the Find X7 Ultra because the illumination of my face was probably too white. And I don't look like this pale, and I don't want to scare kids. And here we have this hazy look again, with desaturated because of like this front display illuminating my face. It creates this kind of hazy look. You can correct it in post, just add a little bit or the brightness slider a bit down, which is also possible, and you get this shot. Much better, much more definition than this one here. And then you can see in terms of detail levels, both doing still the same kind of thing, but I like the more better color here than on the Oppo. Oppo has a bit more detail there in my eyes, but I think it's recreating this detail there. So I cannot choose between those two. Both are doing a fine job. You can see a bit more here of the background there on the Oppo, where here, no. Equally good, equally bad, get the same point. Now we come to a very interesting thing. We come to the zoom lens. And here I think the Oppo is doing a better job with its 3 times zoom, which is now 72 millimeters. So it's cropping in slightly here. And the 15 Ultra is 70 millimeters. We have this high contrast look on the 15 Ultra that is, in this case, I think not helping. But also you can see the sensor size differences eventually as well, with the little nitpicks and details here, because this has been done by hand, this statue. It's a wooden statue. And you can see the little nitpicks and details on both. But I think the Oppo is clearly showing a little bit more than the Xiaomi there of the little nitpicks and dints. And yeah, the high contrast tries to, it's looking a bit artificial here for sure. But where the Oppo is losing tremendously is when you zoom in further. Like 6 times on the Oppo is never switching to the 6 times lens at night. I tried it at night in automatic mode, it's never switching to the 6 times lens. It needs enough light, and this is the big problem. So basically at night the Oppo Find X7 Ultra only has 3 camera sensors on the back, because the 6S is never used. You can switch to a dedicated night mode, then it will be used, or you have to go to the Pro mode, then you can also use it. The Xiaomi, however, because it has this large sensor, is using it. And there you can see the huge difference in terms of detail levels there, in terms of sharpness. And this 100 versus 135. It's just simply daylight and night difference. And the more you zoom in, I try to see if the Find X7 Ultra at 10 times maybe redeems itself and switches to the 6X. It is not. You can see much more details on the Oppo, on the Xiaomi. It is not huge, however, as you can see here, but it is definitely there, and it's an advantage of the Xiaomi. And another shot that shows you the superiority of the 3x lens here. This is the Xiaomi and this is the Oppo. Oppo is doing much nicer job. You can read the text there, you can read the number, which you cannot do on the Xiaomi. So the Xiaomi's tiny sensor, or yeah, way tiny sensor, is losing there. But yeah, the more you zoom in, the more it becomes evident that 100 millimeter versus, this is not 10 times, but let's go 10 times versus 10 times. It becomes obvious that this is just a crop of the 3x. It is doing a lot of editing there, but it's not the 6x lens there that it's using, and it's noisy and yeah, shouldn't be like this. So yes, the Xiaomi is winning there at nighttime as well by using or utilizing all its 4 sensors on the back, even though like you can also argue that the 3x maybe is also worthless because it's so bad in terms of quality that you immediately, instead of like 70 millimeter, should go to the 100 millimeter at night. But this is like something that we can discuss somewhere else. Let's go the ultra wide angle. This surprised me as well, because here the Oppo is striking back against the Xiaomi. Where daylight, the Xiaomi 1, at nighttime, it doesn't look like this. Yes, more contrasty look again on the Xiaomi. But here, I would even argue, going towards the sides here, that the Oppo is doing a nicer job. Keeps a little bit more details there of the painting, of the wall, of the chair here. It's a bit more punchy color, like I said, vibrant look. And you can almost see the texture on the Oppo, where it's super smoothed out on the Xiaomi. So yeah, the Oppo is striking back with better ultra-wide angle photos at night. And here you can also see it. First of all, the HDR is much nicer than on the Xiaomi. Xiaomi's completely overblown it, and it's like creating a haze around here, where here it is not. And then in terms of sharpness and detail levels, yeah, it's a bit more punchy on the Oppo here. This color is a bit desaturated, but it might be coming from the haze there. It is slightly better, I think. It's very comparable here in this situation where there should be sharp, but yes, I would say here as well, slightly more details, a bit too soft on the Xiaomi there. Also the detail level here, compared with here and here, very, very similar. So yeah, the Oppo is striking back at nighttime with its ultra wide angle. And this leads us to the ranking and conclusion. TLDR, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra gets 4.593 points and the Xiaomi 15 Ultra 4.605 points. As you can see, very close together, but the Xiaomi wins by a hair. It's not the main camera photo quality, which is the same. The ultra wide angle, it's also basically the same. Even though the Xiaomi is much better at daylight, the Oppo is winning against the Xiaomi at nighttime with better lens coding, better HDR, and sometimes even more details. The zoom and portrait photo quality is a little bit better on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Not the portraits, because the portrait king is still the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. But the Oppo Find X7 Ultra doesn't have this long zoom range. So 10 times is better on the Xiaomi, 20 and 30 times better on the Oppo, but 60 times, 100 and 120 times is definitely better on the Xiaomi. And then we have the nighttime, where the Oppo basically doesn't use its 6 times periscope zoom at all in auto mode. You have to remember to take the shot with night mode or pro mode to be able to use the periscope zoom mode. And this is, I think, a little bit of a bummer. This is something that Oppo should think about really doing, because I think that the 6X with night mode longer exposure would work wonders and could compete against the 15 Ultra there. But for this, all in all, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra has 4.8 and the Oppo 4.7 points. Video recording is completely different, the other way around, because here we have the top-notch video recording performance by the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. The front cam is super, super sharp, doesn't have this background bokeh, but it's super sharp, has autofocus, has the possibility to zoom in and a wider field of view. All in all, it is simply better. And the main camera footage, the zoom is much more fluent by switching between the main to the zoom and to the second zoom and to the ultra wide angle. Super fluid. And on the Xiaomi we still have a little bit of stutters here and there sometimes, and it is not as fluent. The colors is also something where I don't like the Xiaomi 15 Ultra too much in direct comparison to the Oppo. The Oppo is like doing much better with colors, not so much contrasty kind of look, not so much yellowish kind of face there, which I don't like on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Though the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is a little bit better than, I would say, the yellowish kind of face that we see usually on the Vivo, for that matter. So also in zoom performance, yeah, clearly the Xiaomi, when it comes to the longer zoom ranges, is beating the Oppo for sure. But in general, the video performance is better on the Oppo. Autofocus performance is the same, front camera performance is the same, not much of a difference. It's a bit more processed looking at night. On the Find X7 Ultra, it's a little bit less processed, but has this greenish kind of haze from taking the shot, and sometimes you can look a lot paler than you actually are on the Find X7 Ultra, so keep that in mind. Camera UI is something that I changed, so I had to cut corners there a bit, and the honeymoon phase with the 15 Ultra is over. Yes, I checked and saw some flaws as well, like for example the timer. If you set it on the 14 Ultra and the previous versions, even on the 50, there's like a little indicator that shows you have set the timer, and you can with one tap disable the timer. That's not there anymore. Why? Why is Xiaomi taking this cool little feature away? So now I try to take some photos, but I couldn't take some photos because the timer was blocking it. And this is something that is really, really annoying. And hopefully they can fix it. They made some other improvements there with the camera UI, like everything one-hand usage. Swipe down is much easier, swipe up to go to your more. It's also nice. Extra features, however, I have to give the points also away there. because the 4K log, 4K 120 frames per second is not there, 8K log is also not there, and some other nitpicks like turning off the noise reduction is not there as far as I'm aware, and turning off stabilization is possible but noise reduction not. So I had to get some points away here from the Xiaomi. Where does it leave us in the ranking? Let's take a look at the ranking list. Xiaomi is still on number 2 here with 4.605, but it's very, very close to the Oppo, number 3, and then also the Vivo X100 Ultra is still top number 1. So you can see Vivo, Xiaomi, Oppo, Huawei, and somewhere there's Honor as well is dominating the list currently. So what do you think about this? Write it on the comment section. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.